Radio Free Skaro!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 987. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
Yeah, what's happening this week, kids? Well, let me tell you. Oh, no, nothing. Why we go? What's happening in your week, Warren? What's going on with you?
Well, how to put this in a gentle and non-liability sort of way. Right. Myself and several other people have been restructured out of our jobs. And I'm not going to name where, but as a result, I am now looking for work. So if you need anybody for podcast editing or writing or video production or anything of the sort, you know where to come besides Steven.
Hand modeling, perhaps?
Hand modeling?
Some hand modeling. I mean, this is a really sexy looking hand, let me tell you.
That's true. The right one, more so than the left.
How dare you, I'm left-handed.
The better. Oh, right, you are too, that's right. Don't mention that, because that might curtail some of your work projects.
There's nothing better than ancient, idiotic superstitions to keep somebody from making money.
Well, listen. The country to the south is pretty much going full into ancient, idiotic superstitions.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say, not that ancient. It's not that long ago that like students who wrote left-handed were forced to not do so by their teachers. So.
My mother marched down to the kindergarten and told the teacher she was being a, and I quote, superstitious bee. So with a little more added to the bee there, a little more juice on that one.
Right.
So that was in 1974. I don't know what it's like now, but
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like 50 years ago.
Yeah, we're laughing about Warren's unemployment.
But
hey, if you want to contribute to our Patreon, support Radio Free Skaro on Patreon. That goes toward directly now to paying Warren's
now
bills.
more than ever. That'll get me to Gallifrey's.
During the downtime, we're taking advantage of this. We'll be doing a classic series commentary every single day until Warren gets a job. That is a threat. That's not a promise.
I won't be on
That's
those.
a threat.
Good luck.
Yeah. So.
It'll be Steven talking to himself. He won't even record it. He'll just be talking to himself in a room.
No, I'll like constantly bring you, and you're playing like Call of Duty or something like that. I'm like, Warren, get on the podcast. We got to talk about the Invasion episode 5. Come on.
Okay. The great thing about Game Pass is that you can just delete stuff you're not enjoying without feeling guilty about it. So I played Call of Duty, got to a part I couldn't finish, said, the hell with this, and just deleted it.
Done.
No pony noobs for you.
No.
I never play multiplayer on Call of Duty. It's just that, like, let me put it this way: the multiplayer experience I have with Grand Theft Auto is Steven and Steven alone, and maybe a random noob I never talked to just to get a mission done.
Right.
I would never. That is a higher grade than Call of Duty users. Call of Duty users are bottom feeders, to put it kindly.
Wow.
So. A lot of political discourse I'll never want to hear would probably be happening on those chat channels.
Probably. They're probably like 13-year-olds too.
Yeah, and I think they all did something to your mom, but
presumably, yes.
Yeah.
Little did they know that Warren's mom would frog march them right into a dumpster.
Worst mistake of their lives.
Yeah.
They would be beaten soundly by a 5'0" woman.
With considerable scorn.
One of my favorite memories, if you may indulge me, is when and this is Alberta, my mom had a Ford Fairmont, which had a V8 engine. And this is like, I don't know, 1980 something. Right. And some jackass ute at the time came up and tried to race her, and she obliterated him because he had some 4-banger piece of junk. And she had this V8 Fairmont. So this little lady just banging down the street in this monstrous, overpowered car. It was great.
Oh, man. Oh, and with those seatbelts on, because that was back in the day when you.
She made sure I had my seatbelt on before she gunned it. So,
well, it wasn't even the law back when kids. We remember when seatbelts weren't the law, and we thought we knew it was good for us. We didn't.
Just like, I don't know, our neighbors to the south who seem to know, think they know what this is good for. Anyway, enough slagging. We all have 4 years and probably more to slag on these jerks.
Yeah. Somewhere in the wake of, I think it was COVID vaccine
this ought to go well.
Yeah, no.
Denier.
Here we go.
Propaganda stuff.
Okay.
There were resurgences of posts of like videos, news footage, whatever, from 1980X when seatbelt laws came into effect, and people just complaining about this infringes on my freedoms and this and that. Like nothing good to say about that as a prospect. And of course, nowadays it's still second nature. So
yeah.
I got to think there's still some outliers on that front.
Oh yeah, I bet you it's I'm wearing a seatbelt. Here's your $75 ticket. I don't care. Fighting against man. All right, this is.
I'm a sovereign citizen. What does that mean? I make stuff up in my head. That's what it means.
Mm-hmm. Wear your seatbelts. Get vaccinated, kids. There's your public message for the day.
Why don't both at the same time? Go to a drive-through vaccination center.
Exactly. Yeah, pharmacies will do that probably, right? Are there drive-through vaccinations? I don't think there are.
Listen, in case we have any conservative listeners left, I am on my 6th COVID shot, and I'll get as many as they give me. So, as you're leaving out the door, conservative listener, enjoy that.
Yeah. I got
my last one was Halloween last year. I'm overdue. I just haven't gone to get it yet.
Oh, you haven't gone? Yeah, I got mine a couple weeks ago. My booster.
Zero side effects. Other than George Soros sending me money, as he does.
He does.
Pretty sure you got the 5Gs somewhere in there.
Yeah, I got a bad case of the 5Gs.
Being the creature from the pit, of course. There's our Doctor Who segue back into nonsense.
Could you imagine if you got like anything for a shot vaccine or otherwise and turned into a Rado afterward?
That would be...
that is a long-held fantasy of yours, Chris, which I will not entertain.
That'd be a feature on
I'm not going to say fantasy, no, but...
I don't know. Lady Adrasta, though.
Yeah, you're making some points.
Just saying.
Not good points, but they're points for sure.
Yeah.
The wolf weeds, though.
The wolf weeds, though. I love Creature from the Pit.
I do not.
I'm a vast lover of Creature from the Pit.
Stupid as hell.
I don't know why. Probably because I grew up watching it. But listen, there's some impressive there's impressive Ealing film work in there. There is Lady Adrasta. There is...
Go on. Keep going. Oh, wait. Can you? No.
Wolf weeds are pretty cool looking, I thought. And some probably Jewish stereotypes for the guys who live there. But still, it's not a bad time.
Yeah, probably is doing a lot of work there, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. It's we're doing, by the way, thanks to everyone who is following us on Blue Sky. We've already been there, but everyone seems to be gravitating there this past week. But we're still there. We're still on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on Threads. We're on Facebook. We're on Mastodon. Those are the 6 that we're on. We've been asking for Fluid Links questions for the Fluid Links Advent Calendar. You have come through in spades across all. It's been a little trickier now that the social media explosion has sort of like spread to different ones. So like keeping track of everyone, but keep submitting them. We're recording our first batch for our Fluid Links Advent Calendar tomorrow, which is today as this comes out on Sunday. And then
it will have already been done by the time this comes out. Yeah,
it will. Yeah, we'll have been done. So, but keep sending them in because I'm off to Chicago TARDIS in a week, and then we'll probably record our last 2 batches after that. So, send them in, and we'll do it. It's we'll keep keeping that tradition going. That's one thing that'll make Christmas bright. Is the Radio Free Skaro Fluid Links Advent Calendar, right? That's how that works, isn't it?
You betcha.
I think so.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just as a heads up, I guess we're only doing audio this year. No video like the last couple of years.
Chris wants us to do video, but we're not doing video.
Well, we've done it the last couple of years, so I just asked about it. Yeah.
Chris, you're great at suggesting, but who has to do the work here? It ain't you, and it ain't even me.
All of us. All of us can do the work.
Okay. Chris,
some of us more than others.
Yeah, some of us. Chris has to change the filter on his Zoom filter. We won't be on StreamYard. I'll say that much right now because they jacked their prices up exorbitantly. It's like, what is
that's
this
another good reason not to do video.
So that's So the pivot to video was short. We might still do like whenever there's a new thinking off the top of my head, we might do like live streams for episode reviews because those seem to be popular enough on YouTube. But for regular episodes and Fluid Links, no, not gonna happen.
No, it's a ton of work.
We're getting older.
Work you mostly have to do. So.
Yeah, and listen, we're getting older and much less attractive. Let's face it. So let's.
What do you mean much less?
Let's just keep.
I'm staying about the same.
Let's just keep that image of sexy 35-year-olds in your head from our first Gallifrey one. It's just like, that's what we look like now.
Are we in space right now? Like, are we in some sort of alternate universe where the Brigadier has an eye patch? Like, what are you talking about?
I don't know. No mustache. Who knows?
34-year-olds.
Now, speaking of sexy 35-year-old, now that's a sexy 35-year-old.
Right? Yeah.
Fascist Brigadier. Oh my God. What have I unearthed here?
Speaking of Blue Sky and Instagram and Threads, Gallifrey 1 is now on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads officially. They are officially on Blue Sky. There was someone who was on Instagram who was the unofficial Gallifrey 1 thing, and every time I saw it, that's not Gallifrey 1. I don't trust this at all, and I never followed them. Well, they were nice enough to hand over the reins to actual Gallifrey 1 on Instagram, so that's now on there, and they're on Threads too, and they're still on Twitter as well. But so that's cool. That so all the Gallifrey 1 announcements will be across multiple platforms now as well. They put out a call for panelists because there are discussion panels coming, of course, as it does every year at Gallifrey 1. And if you want to put your name into the hat to see if you can get on panels that you like, the deadline is December 14th. Links in the show notes at radiofreescaro.com to check those out. But there's a whole host of them. How many are there? 20, 30?
42.
Oh my God.
I was going to say, probably not coincidentally. Nah, it's probably coincidence, but still 42.
Yeah, totally coincidental. Any of these float your boat?
I have not looked yet.
No, I haven't looked at. No.
I had a quick skim. I know Kat put her name forward for a couple of them.
Oh,
but,
really?
I don't know if I will or not. I don't tend to do panels, at least not hosting or presenting them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you mean. I guess because where am I, a middle-aged white guy who's done a Doctor Who podcast for the past 18 and a half years? Where's my platform? When do I get to say my piece? This is why I often just I don't need to be on opinion panels at all. But
no.
But there's one about Blu-rays, though.
Expertise, exactly. Like, if there's something I know a lot about that I can actually contribute to that wouldn't be covered here, then maybe I'd think about it. But, why jam somebody else out at the same time?
Yeah,
who has every right to be on there.
Yeah. So I might think about the Blu-ray panel, but...
the Blu-ray one, at least for the moment, I mean, as we were talking about before recording, nobody from the Blu-ray team is at Galley this year.
Announced anyway, that we know.
Announced
of.
anyway.
Russell Minton always shows up. Like he just like sneaks in the back door.
He didn't show up last year. But,
no, he didn't. He boycotted it. He didn't boycott it.
Your fan fiction is amazing.
Yeah.
He is an incredibly busy individual at the end of the day.
He is.
But as he does all the Blu-ray stuff like over and above his day job, which,
it should be to supply us Blu-rays in Canada only because we still don't have the Sylvester McCoy season 25 set.
Oh, speaking of Blu-rays, I ordered the Blake 7 part the first.
Did you really, Warren?
I sure did.
Wow,
I sure did.
Without a job and everything, and you still did. Wow, that was awfully good of you.
That was before, though, wasn't it? But yeah,
no, it wasn't actually.
I have yet to put my order in for it as well.
See, I get to shame Chris now.
Cowards. Yeah.
Still a few weeks away from release, but I'll get there.
It's getting close, though. It's getting close.
I've finally finished off the season 20 Blu-ray set.
Well done.
So that leaves me with just season 15 as far as playing catch-up goes. So
to watch, you have it. You haven't just
to watch.
Watched it.
Oh yeah, I
have barely watched any of the three I have because I've seen all these before. So I'll get to them when I get to them.
Oh, but the VAM, Warren, the VAM.
Yeah, I've watched some of the VAM.
New VAM.
I've watched some VAM. I do like a drone shot with Toby Haydock.
Kat being a massive Fifth Doctor fan, on the last disc of the set are the two very long things with the Fifth Doctor cast.
Right.
So the one where they're driving from Britain to Germany for Time Lash.
I haven't watched that yet.
Which has been that was shot pre-COVID.
Yeah,
it's been in the can forever.
Yeah.
And then the one where so that's Sarah Sutton, Janet Fielding, and Peter Davison, and then there's the other one where those three and Mark Strickson go to Amsterdam to just revisit stuff from Mark of Infinity.
Right.
And those are I think are now her two favorite things ever.
Wow.
I may have mentioned this before, but and this is apparently absolutely true. On 9/11, when there were no planes flying anywhere post 9/11, apparently Marlon Brando Michael Jackson and Elizabeth Taylor shared a car and drove from New York to LA. I'm not making that up.
Come
that is
on.
a real thing that actually happened.
What? I mean,
can you imagine being in that car? What a bizarre... I don't know if I'd want to be in that car because that's three very eclectic people, let's put it that way. Elizabeth Taylor seems like the most sane of the bunch.
What do they have to... I mean, I guess they had places to go, places to be.
They wanted to get back home, I guess, and there were literally no planes flying, not even private ones. So they just said, hell with it. They're all friends, and they got in a car together and drove back to L.A.
That's kind of... Who did the driving?
I mean, even if it's not true, and I think it is actually true, it's just a glorious story.
Who did the driving, I wonder?
I'm going to say Elizabeth Taylor.
I'm going to say they hired a driver.
Maybe they hope they hired a driver because they don't need to swap out at like, I don't know.
Well, like I said, she seems the least crazy of the three. So
yeah, I mean, Brando, take over. Come on, we got to go to the Wawa.
I do really want to pull over at some gas station somewhere and have to change the seat for Brando to get behind the wheel.
That's true. Yeah. Brando.
Just imagine the poor gas station attendant who's like, what the hell is this when those three pile in because they would have inevitably had to fill up at some point.
Marlon Brando arrested for trying to manually fill up his car in New Jersey because that's a crime. You can't actually do it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So that would have been a
We have certain outlying cities here, the same thing. I don't know if it's a crime, but yeah, you have to hire young people with cracking voices, a la The Simpsons, to serve you gas in Coquitlam, my favorite place.
Some years back, I went to a work training thing, and there's somebody there from New Jersey, and she had no concept that most of the world pumps their own gas.
My favorite, and this is changing a bit, is when I would have American friends visit, and they'd be agog when they brought a terminal to pay at the table. They're like, what is happening? I'm like, it's real simple. We just are much more advanced than you in this particular instance.
Yeah.
Well, for the U.S., for the longest time, like here we had, tap and chip and pin or whatever for years, and lots of places in the U.S. were still like swipe and sign.
Oh my God,
yeah, you can thank Apple Pay for forcing that down the throats of America because Google tried and they failed, and Apple was the only managed to pull it off, and that's probably a big reason of why they have it now.
Probably. We had it for years before Apple Pay. Years.
Oh, yeah, years and years. Probably a good 10 years, I think.
Oh, not 10 years, 5 years maybe.
But close.
Yeah, it was pretty close. Can you tell folks at home that we don't talk to other humans for a week before we do this pod? We just drift into utter nonsense on this podcast.
I absolutely do not.
It's like, let's just talk. Let's just catch up on things and call it a podcast. 987 episodes later. Sorry, and we are Canadian after all.
Other than domestic life of like, what do you want for supper? I don't know. What do you want for supper?
I love
to give it time. Man.
I love that. There was a new Doctor Who teaser, and B, the hook of this podcast we haven't even taught. It's 20 minutes into this stupid thing.
Ridiculous.
It's like an Emerson, Lake and Palmer concert. On this episode, we are doing a commentary for the pilot raw recording. It's an anniversary week coming up here of Doctor Who. So we are doing a commentary for the raw recording of the Doctor Who pilot, Unearthly Child, back in 1963, which is available on the DVD and nowhere else. And if you can't get the DVD, it's fine, because on our YouTube page, there is going to be a sort of, if you will, a telesnap version of it, so it doesn't get red flagged by Steph Coburn and the League of Demented Sons of Doctor Who writers. So that's going to be there if you want to watch along and listen to us commentate as well. But listen, it took us 20 minutes to get to that on this podcast. It's not like we're going to stay rigidly on topic with the commentary.
Ridiculous.
You could probably listen to it without watching it as well. But that's coming up later in this episode. But yes, it was Children in Need yesterday as we record this on the 15th, Saturday the 15th. And there was, as teased, a clip with an intro by none other than Ncuti Gatwa, who is at London Comic-Con this weekend.
But on the TARDIS set for that, because I watched it live via methods.
You did? Yeah, that's right. You watched it live because you are unemployed. You can do this now.
So why else wouldn't I?
What was you decided? Look what I could do after all these years. What's Children in Need live? And
I've done it while working a couple times. I can probably admit that now.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, they had a teaser clip of a scene from Joy to the World, the upcoming Doctor Who Christmas special, where Ncuti Gatwa was there and talking to is it Ben Harris or John Harris, dressed as the Silurian, doing the old Moffat standby of having a character as an avatar for something to talk to, be it Blink, be it weeping angels thing, be it the Vashta Nerada, that sort of thing. And then a big giant dinosaur comes and eats the house, and it looks like they're going to fall into the mouth of the dinosaur, and that's the end of the clip.
Probably fleeting but big giant callback to Boom as well.
With the villain guard thing, yeah.
I also love where he goes, a logo, they can't resist.
Yeah.
so he calls up a logo. I was like, that's true to form. That's
100% nice. Track, so there you go. Nick
Is this our first dinosaur since Deep Breath?
Well, and whatchamacallit, where they... Or did the dinosaur, she steps on the butterfly in Space Babies? Is that what I can't remember.
I think there was a dinosaur in the background. They didn't meet.
Yeah, they hinted a dinosaur, but I don't think we actually see one.
You see like a brontosaurus like in the background or something. You see it in the background,
maybe.
But they don't actually meet it. But yeah. So dinosaurs in Doctor Who, the continuing history, and so it continues on at Christmas time. So
very, very nice looking dinosaur at that.
I did like the dangling bits and pieces of the suitcase hanging out of its mouth. That was a nice touch.
That's true. And it bit into it, and it looked like it was infected by whatever was in the briefcase. Oh my God!
Raw business. That's what's in that briefcase. Of course, it got infected.
Maybe they were in the Time Hotel, because apparently it's a time hotel. Steven Moffat teased the fact that there's a time traveling hotel. Which sort of like, how did he explain it? Like you go back in time, and
they'd go back in time and just book all the nights that weren't booked, all the rooms that weren't booked for whatever nights.
Right.
I mean, up until they changed the carpets, that was the Marriott in LA.
That's true.
It really was a time traveling hotel.
It's kind of got like the restaurant at the end of the universe vibes, in the it's selling time that you put a penny in savings, and then it builds up for a billion years for you enough to afford your drink, your one drink that you get at the restaurant at the end of the universe.
Better be a hot black Desiato tease.
Yeah.
Thanks, Time Meddler.
That too, Time Meddler. So time travel and dinosaurs coming to Doctor Who at Christmas in 2025. Children in Need, by the way, raised over £39 million.
That's a lot of money.
That's pretty cool. So well done, everyone, for contributing and assuring them that Warren could watch it live and not pay a thin
was the
red
only reason
cent.
it existed. Yes.
Yep, thin red cent for it, because I don't think we could. I don't think we even are able to outside of the UK even.
Oh, no. I mean, I did assure the BBC I have a license. Which I don't, but
do you have a license for this? Yeah. So just click, okay.
You bet I do.
Red. Yep, we're going to.
I have a license, driver's license.
We're going to take you at your word.
And before anybody gives anybody flack on that front, if we were able to legitimately purchase said license and watch stuff, we would do so.
In a second. I've been yelling about this for 20 years.
100%.
Anyone remember the International iPlayer? That didn't go well.
No, it didn't. Did it? No. I pay for BBC Select. It's
so
on
do I. It's great.
Yeah, it's great. It's got documentaries. I don't watch them as often, but it's got BBC on it, so I pay for it because it's like, I'm supporting the BBC.
On Thursday, I was like, well, I'm unemployed. I'm going to watch World War II documentaries and lie on the couch. And I woke up at midnight and said, what the hell? I just slept through 2 World War II documentaries. And it's, where am I? Oh, I'm on the couch. Never mind. So that's how you do it. That's how you do unemployment. Watch World War II documentaries on BBC Select where they're hunting Nazis. Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Where people had it even worse. There was a Disney Plus trailer saying coming in 2025, and they had a whole bunch of stuff that's coming in 2025, and Doctor Who was not listed on there. But that's fine, everyone. That's fine, because I feel it's not Disney not promoting Doctor Who. I think it's probably a case of the BBC going, we've got a Christmas special coming up yet. We don't necessarily want to spill the beans about what's coming in season 2 yet, so could you not put it in there quite yet?
Well, and all the stuff on that trailer, from what I could tell, was all pure Disney-owned stuff, like Marvel, whatever else, Star Wars. That's all owned by Disney, and Doctor Who is not. It is co-financed, right?
And I think, I think it was also stuff that I think was sort of announced at D23 in Brazil, because it just sort of like happened, there was a Captain America,
quite a good Captain America trailer
that came out like last weekend, and a release date for Andor season 2 of 2, which is great. April 25th, I think it is.
Disney's version of Cyberwoman.
Oh God,
Ironheart. Yeah, that's
that
right.
might be underselling Ironheart just a little bit.
I don't know. Let me
tell you about this Captain America trailer, though. It starts and it's very 70s story. It's even got split screens. It's like, this is looking 3 Days of the Condor, and then about, let's say, 3/4 of the way through, and this is not a spoiler. It's in the trailer. It's obvious to anybody who's paid any attention. Harrison Ford becomes the Red Hulk, and I'm like, how the hell are they going to mesh these two things together? I think the answer is they aren't. You're going to have 2/3 of a cool movie and then some Hulk nonsense at the end.
Yeah, that's about the state of things these days, Warren. Mm-hmm. If I want to watch a 70s conspiracy thriller, I will watch a 70s conspiracy thriller.
I mean, Winter Soldier is one of the best ones because it essentially mostly is a 70s conspiracy thriller. And I hope this one does the same thing because that part at least will be cool. And yes, I've also watched many proper 70s. Yeah. This is where you should jump in and talk about September 5th.
Oh my God! Oh, so September 5 is not that it's a 70s conspiracy or anything, but it is in the 70s. It's a movie about ABC's coverage of the Munich Olympic hostage disaster that happened when 9 Israeli athletes were kidnapped and killed. It was obviously a seminal moment in 1972, and the movie is, as I was reading an article about this movie and how they made it, it's basically all takes place in the ABC control room circa 1972.
That's the stuff right there.
There's actual archive footage on the screens in the background, just like, stop it. And here's the catch, kids. Here's the kicker right here. The movie is 95 minutes long.
Yep.
It's like, why did you do this? How would you make a movie especially for me? Because that is what that movie is.
I have a similar recommendation, which is now out on digital. It's called Saturday Night. It's a Jason Reitman sort of did the 90 minutes before Saturday Night Live goes to air for the first time, and it's done in more or less real time. And as I'm watching it, I'm like, A, these actors are absolutely nailing who they're imitating. But B, I'm like, this doesn't look like it's screwed with video. And I looked it up, and it's shot on 16 mil.
Oh my God.
Delicious.
Oh my
Delicious.
God.
Yeah, so it looks it too. It's great.
I'd heard
about
that.
It's a good movie. It looks great.
It is a good movie because I know you're. I mean, I'm not that big a fan of Saturday Night Live either. I don't think you are.
I'm
Warren.
middling on it, but
yeah,
no, I'm not actually a huge. I'm a huge fan of the VAM of Saturday Night Live more than I am the actual product itself.
When I heard about this movie, I just thought, okay, it's just gonna be some weird little biopic or something of here's how the greatest show in existence came about. But it's wow. When you talk about
it's just production chaos with Robert Wool as the guy in the controls. Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh,
and
nice.
Willem Dafoe as, I can't remember his name, not Dick Ebersol, this other guy who's higher up in the NBC pantheon.
Right.
And if you read Live from New York, which is a great book about the history of Saturday Night Live, that explains this. Like, they compress a lot of stuff into 90 minutes. It actually probably took a couple months, but it's still a lot of fun to watch, and they do pretty much nail everything they're supposed to nail. Like I said, it looks good because it looks like crap. I was sending various pictures of TV technology throughout to Steven and saying, check out this pornography. And he was fanning himself, I assume.
Is that a 2-inch videotape machine? Oh my God.
Yes, it is.
Handbags. So there. So that's out now. I'm intrigued by that now that you've talked about it. And September 5 comes out, I think, December 13th everywhere.
It's a glorious time for old video that only we care about.
Yeah, it really is. September 5 is already my favorite movie of the year, and I haven't even seen it.
I haven't seen it. It better be good.
It better be good. It better be good. They're putting it out there because they think it might be Oscar bait as well, which is good. Because I looked at the cast list and went, I don't know a lot of these people in this movie, which is great, even better.
That's fine. That's kind of the same thing as Saturday Night. They have a bunch of people who kind of look like Chevy Chase and Jane Curtin, and they really excel at and it's not a straight imitation. It's like they get the essence of them, which is always the best way to do it.
Yeah. Like Bruce Greenwood as John F. Kennedy in 13
or
Days.
Tim Treloar as the third Doctor. Isn't doing an imitation. He's doing his own version that sort of rings more true anyway.
Well done, Warren. Well done to bring that back to Doctor Who, because I was unsure how we were going to do that, but nice work. Chris, do you have any movies you're looking forward to before we move on to the next thing? Or is that enough for you? Or is it coming to Disney Plus? Probably not.
It better be old and 70s-ish.
Yeah.
I don't even know, because I have kept much less track of what's out there, what's coming out, things like that.
Oh, that's all right. We're all going to go see Red One on the weekend anyway, so it's,
absolutely not.
That's probably.
I don't even know what that is.
Why don't I just hit my feet with a hammer instead? That'd be about as pleasant.
That's an awful AI-generated movie about Santa Claus with The Rock. Which was
no, I'm not. I don't think that's going to be on my list.
No. Looking forward to Andor,
like
though.
to code to garbage.
Andor Season 2, April 25th. The show that I have very much come around on. It is my absolute favorite thing that Star Wars has made since 1983.
The field is pretty fallow there, so
A
it's
little
pretty
bit,
easy
but
to
it is
lay
so
that claim.
good.
I mean,
I'm joining.
In fact, you should mention the film that's not going to happen in 2026.
I don't even know. Yeah, the Disney we removed a film from 2026 for Star Wars. You don't even know what it was. It's not the Daisy Ridley one.
Yeah.
It's not the Mandalorian. It was a different Star Wars film that you didn't know about that is no longer there. So
so every third-rate churn merchant started saying, "Well, this is the Rey film has been destroyed, probably due to woke." Blah 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 blah. And no. It's scheduling raw business is what it is.
George Lucas remains undefeated, man. He made 6 Star Wars films. That's unprecidented in Star Wars history.
Despite defeating himself, he remains undefeated.
Yep, absolutely. Gotta credit the guy. Hey, if you have a Vanity Fair subscription, because I think the article's paywalled, there's an interview, a profile with Ncuti Gatwa on Vanity Fair. There's also a big photo shoot that he shared photos of on his Instagram feed. They asked him one brief question in the Vanity Fair article about Doctor Who. You're not missing too much if you just want to hear about Doctor Who. So there's other stuff in there. So you're not missing much, but yep.
And if you're an Apple News user, you have access to Vanity Fair. I'm an Apple News user. So there you go. I haven't looked yet, but I do have access to this apparently.
Okay. So a busy week for Ncuti Gatwa. He's promoting the Children in Need thing, probably shot months ago, and he's in Vanity Fair. He's at London Comic Con this weekend, and he's about to start his run in The Importance of Being Earnest on stage. So, so there.
And I'm looking at his dolly, which is the crown and glory of this whole thing.
That's true. I got to look for that. I got to find that before too long. Just in case. I won't go out.
I'm sure it'll be a Gallifrey one.
Yeah, probably will. Maybe even
For a
Chicago
marked up
TARDIS.
price.
Maybe even Chicago TARDIS.
I mean, I paid through those too, so
that's true. Yeah. There, we mentioned it last week. I think the Blake 7 updated effects. Well, the effects reel that Chris Thompson, who done made them, that he talked about on the interview last week, has now been posted on the BBC Studios YouTube page. It's pretty cool, so you can have a look at that. Links in the show notes of all the various things that they did with that. Mm-hmm.
Can I switch back and forth like I used to with I still can, presumably, with the Doctor Who stuff?
Switch back and forth.
Yeah, like you can watch the updated effect or the regular effect.
No, they're gone. They're wiped out. Of course they can. Of course.
Right.
Of course, Warren. Of course they are.
I just like having the option, that's all.
Of course they are. Of course.
Going the season 20 box set had a lot of, if not all, the stories with updated effects.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know Arc of Infinity they redid for the DVD 15 years ago, but
and now that looks outdated, so you gotta redo it again.
Probably.
Yeah.
But
I like the 5 Doctor effects, so
kept forgetting to turn those on. But yeah, for 5 Doctors, so 5 Doctors spans 3 discs out of the 9 on that set.
Sure does,
because there's separate discs for the standard, the anniversary and the 40th anniversary. So the only one I actually watched was the 40th anniversary, and the obelisk looks nicer. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but also the flippy switcher effect from the original has its own smelly charm to it,
doesn't it? Though.
Well, that's stuff like that is what we're used to as well. So
yeah.
So of course it's got that charm, but yeah, it's I know back in the day with the DVDs, you can just hit the angle button and switch between whatever arbitrarily. I don't know if the same still applies.
I don't think that technology is even working anymore. Because I remember, the Remembrance of the Daleks DVD had a little angle button. You could hit it and it would show you different angles. But I have never heard of. Like I think that's like a relic of the earliest days of DVDs that you could just switch angles, because I don't even is that even a button on a remote anymore doing angles? I don't even know anymore. But
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that. So you can. I don't know if you can switch back and forth as you're watching, Warren. Is what I mean to say. I think you have to basically watch the.
Well, that's fine.
Revamped version.
You're making that choice to begin with, right? So
you kind of are. Yeah, you kind of are. So there. But anyway, it looks pretty cool. Speaking of cool, looking pretty cool, our friend Graham Kipper-White was on the Big Finish website showing. So Sid Sutton, of course, created the 1980s title sequences for season 18 through 23, and with the build up in the Starfield and the neon logo and all that. And Sid Sutton sadly died recently, but before that, he sent all a whole chunk of stuff to Graham, who of course wrote An Adventure in Type and Space, and a follow-up is coming now next month. I've already pre-ordered it at great expense to be shipped from the UK, but I so want to read this follow-up. Anyway, Big Finish put a nice video together of Graham meeting Colin Baker and showing him all the stills of the pictures that he took for that title sequence on that day, and it's a lovely little moment. And they sort of like reconstructed it, and so like how many different photos are in there. They show a bit about how like you could quite clearly tell that like it's about like 8 or 9 different photos in part of that sequence, and like the collars don't line up. And now every time I watch the Colin Baker title sequence, I'm going to be stuck looking at those collars now. So
Van is your greatest friend and worst enemy.
Yeah, thanks for nothing.
Very specifically, he calls out the shifting of the question marks on the lapels.
Yeah, that's where you can tell. Yeah, the question marks. Damn you, JNT! Look what you did.
Listen. I have 4K 77, and part of the charm is that I can see the matte boxes. So just enjoy this.
I know. 4K 77, it's so good. It's so
Star Wars
good.
for those not in the know.
Yeah, 4K 77, 80, and 4K 83. Look them up, kids. Anyway, it's lovely. It is lovely. So links in the show notes to watch that. It's a really cool little moment. And I actually asked Greg, did you really actually meet Colin for the first time in that moment? And yeah, that was all. Because you know how many times on documentaries and they're like, "Oh, good to see you." They clearly met because they were actually rehearsing that scene and shot it 8 times before you were watching the 9th take on the actual documentary. That is the actual moment when Graham Kibblewhite met Colin Baker, which is pretty cool.
Well, that's neat.
Yeah, on camera. So it's neat. Links in the show notes. Watch it. It's lovely. It's a lovely little piece about the making of the title sequence and seeing Colin Baker reminisce about it. Some Big Finish stuff where we of course overcomplicate and dissect the title, the graphic for upcoming Big Finish stuff. This one's for Doctor Who faithful friends, more Doctor Who classic Doctors, new monsters, where there's the 2nd Doctor, 4th Doctor, 7th and 8th Doctors on the cover of this. Looks like there's the Pyrovile folks from. Or no, who is that? I'm trying to look here. Is that a Carvanista? Is that Carvanista? That's Carvanista.
The guy on the left? Yeah, I can't tell who he is. Some dog-looking guy.
Yeah, so Lupari on the left. And then you got Krillitane's top center. And then on the right, is that Pyrovile or is that the one from like Extremis?
I think it's Extremis. Yeah, I think it's the monks. It
is the monks because I've read
monks.
Down.
Yeah.
What's great, though, is that the monks are perfect for Big Finish because all they do is stand around and talk anyway. So it's perfect for Big Finish.
That's true. Yeah. Krillitane's a bunch. I'm curious about the... It's kind of cool actually seeing like something for the Jodie Whittaker era. I know that obviously they're going to have a box set coming out with her Doctor and all that, but to see something from like as recent as Doctor Who Flux in a Big Finish thing always kind of feels kind of cool. But so there you go. That's coming. 4 different stories.
Yeah, I think you're burying the lead as well. Sarah Griffith says Ray.
I know. That's right. Ray from Delta and the Bannerman. She's back, baby.
Oh, okay. That's why I didn't care.
She's in Pog form.
In Pog form. Yeah. And she as Ray too, like she's actually reprising her character. That's way cool. That's way cool.
That was definitely the thing that caught my attention about this release.
Yeah.
She is a classic monster.
That's true. It's basically.
Not sure how.
I know it's kind of like it was like a coin flip between. It wasn't more than the coin flip that chose Ace because they liked the character more, but between Ace and Ray, who is going to be the next companion. And it wound up being this is kind of like an alternate universe story.
As the blurb says, and the Krillitane relic stars Sylvester McCoy as the 7th Doctor alongside Sarah Griffiths as Ray, reprising her role from the 1987 TV story Delta and the Bannerman. At the time, the production team considered making Ray the Doctor's companion, and in this adventure, she is.
Awesome.
But she was judged improperly able to take down the Thatcher government, so.
That's true. In Wales in 1959. Yeah.
In Wales and England.
Yeah, the rock and roll years, yeah. Also coming, details and the cover for Call Me Master Inner Demons, starring Sacha Dhawan as the Master.
This took me by surprise. They must have announced it, but I just missed it.
They did. They announced it, but they didn't have a title or any story details. And now they do. They have 3 different stories written by Robert Valentine, Georgia Cook, and Una McCormack. Of course, starring Sacha Dhawan, who will be at Chicago TARDIS next weekend, as will I. I imagine he'll probably talk about that there. So
I have two wish lists here. One, we need Jodie and Sacha Dhawan back together again in audio form. And two, I need Missy and this master to meet up and cause mayhem.
Oh. Has Michelle Gomez done any Big Finish recently?
Oh, yeah. She's done tons. She's done her own series, like of Missy stuff.
Yes, but recently, though, I feel like when whoever's the master, they sort of like say, you are the current master. We're not like going to have like,
No, I think it's schedules. She was on like the flight attendant and some other stuff too. So she probably had other stuff to do, right?
That's true.
And this guy being Sacha Dhawan,
this guy
like, probably also has a busy, so they probably work around these guys' schedules.
More than
anything else.
They record stuff months, if not years in advance.
That too, for that very reason, right?
Mm-hmm. And given the medium, they can record things separately as well.
Exactly, that too, I mean, I think I seen a result during COVID. There was stuff about Michelle Gomez doing stuff separately on her own at her own place, and then they showed all of them differently. Yep, like what's his Peter Davison with his little TARDIS cover and so forth.
Pretty cool.
Coming under the stairs kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The speaking of the covers for the Big Finish things, the three poses of Sacha Dhawan make me think of these like as headshots showing his range.
Does a little bit. Yes.
A Vanity Fair shoot, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like the top hat one, and the machination, the evil machinations one in the middle, and the kind of scary, screamy one at the left or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I just want Missy to react and go, "Oh, I was trying to be good, and this is what came of it." All right. Also, it might answer the question: is he actually after Missy or not?
Well, listen and find out in February of 2025.
Or write your own fanfic. Either or.
That too. One last bit of business news.
We do leave the deaths for
that's
the end,
true.
So.
AMC Networks has acquired full control of BBC America for $42 million. So that thus closes the story basically of BBC America being a part of like basically an arm of BBC Studios outside of the UK. This grades back 2014. 2014, they AMC purchased 49.9% stake at $200 million. Mm-hmm. Just to give
this is like a Washington Post level bargain.
Yeah, just to give you an idea of how TV channels have kind of fallen in value in the past 10 years. Well, it's like 25% value now.
That's in TV money. That's not a lot.
20%, really. 21.
That's kind of a steal, honestly. Yeah. And they're probably just getting it for the Spectrum anyway. Like they'll change it to AMC 2 or something.
Yeah, it could be something like that. But so, even though they said, the success of BBC America brand is, it's changing in 3 months' time,
Yeah.
Never
believe anything said when something gets bought or changed.
Sure. Well, there was also that, back when BBC America was still showing Doctor Who, was it AMC Plus?
Yes.
I believe so. That was their
that also showed Doctor Who alongside BBC America in advance of commercial free or whatever that.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it wasn't even commercial free. Not all the time anyway.
Yeah, I think you could watch it after it aired or something. Yeah.
There's a possibility they could just sunset this altogether, but I think you're probably. I think you guys are probably right, and that it'll get repurposed to something else. But BBC America, as it exists, might be on the way out.
Yeah.
You don't buy it to completely destroy it. Maybe they do.
I think you do.
But most of the time they buy it so they can repurpose it for some other reason. And they have no reason to keep it BBC America. What good does that do them, really?
Buying things to destroy them unless it's a fire sale, which this kind of is.
That's true too.
Probably not as common as buying things to separate them for their assets.
Anyway, all these things suck, no matter what it is.
Yeah, you just it's kind of a limp end to the BBC America story. Which good on BBC America. They picked up Doctor Who back in 2008, 2009 when sci-fi just had no interest in it, and really turned it into a thing in America. They did a great job, especially in those early years of promoting it. Have the cinema screenings and the premieres and everything. Like it became a thing, BBC America.
The reason it became popular is because of the BBC America.
Really was.
They did a great job. All the events with Moffat and Smith and Gillen and so on as well.
And they would coordinate with obviously they knew that Craig Ferguson was a fan, so there was an outlet there, and so it became like this, with the Late Late Show, it became kind of this this punk rock kind of outside of the norm sci-fi series that wouldn't be necessarily good enough for Colbert or Conan O'Brien, the standard late night, but like late show. That's where Doctor Who belongs. It was kind of like a throwback to the PBS days of like when's Doctor Who on 11 o'clock on a Saturday night, because that's only when they could show it, because it's so it's so off kilter and stuff like that. So it was great. I think I think they leaned into the punk rock nature of Doctor Who a little bit, and yeah, I appreciate them. After the fact, of course, they also did like completely chop up the episodes as commercial breaks and put like spoilers to stuff that was happening later on in the episode before they actually showed it. But apart from that, I thought they did a pretty good job of building the brand in the US.
Well, even in Canada, there was, I don't know what still exists because I haven't paid attention, but there was BBC Canada.
Yeah,
which never ever showed
No.
Doctor Who,
No.
and BBC Kids, which did show Doctor Who, but it also showed it in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
more or less.
What a weird.
Was that New Who or was that classic?
Classic.
Classic,
Very
yeah.
classic.
Yeah. What a weird time. What a weird time. Thank God everything is on BBC iPlayer, except for this episode and that episode and the other episode. And this
Thanks to
episode.
the League of Demented Sons of Writers, or whatever it's
Demented
called.
Sons of Doctor Who Writers.
Thank you, yes.
One thing that's not on iPlayer is the episode we are about to do a commentary of, kids. Sit back, celebrate Doctor Who's 61st anniversary with our classic series commentary of the raw pilot recording of An Unearthly Child.
Are the microphones wired in?
All around the condenser, most merciful. We're looking forward to excellent duodecaphonic sound.
This is the moment when I get a real feeling of job satisfaction.
Yep, it is time for the classic series commentary. We haven't done the actual story of this, so when we were thinking of like what do we do for anniversary week, because we got something else planned for next week, which will come out after the actual anniversary of November 23rd. We thought, well, we haven't done an actual, like the randomizer has yet to choose the first story, and I don't want to just watch the first episode, so we thought, let's watch the pilot recording. And then we thought, do you want to watch the pilot episode? No. We want to watch not only the earliest version of this episode, but also the earliest instance of studio recording footage, which is what this is. So it's both the best of both worlds. Actually, we're going to watch the best of both worlds, part one here, with Riker and Gatwa. No, we're not going to do that.
Done.
But, yeah.
Shelby.
Fire. To be continued.
Yeah. So, if you've got this at home, great. The pilot raw recording, not the edited version, the 35-minute and 40-second raw recording of the very first episode of Doctor Who, An Unearthly Child, on your legally purchased DVDs and hopefully in the future Blu-rays. Yes, Warren.
Did they do this before? Like, did they do the whole thing or just the first episode as a pilot?
Warren,
I haven't watched
please,
this ever.
this is valuable digressions that
All
we
right,
can talk
fine.
about during the actual podcast, all right? So, Chris, you had something to add before we
I
start?
was going to say, I assume you said it, maybe I just didn't hear it, about it being on the Lost in Time DVD sets.
It was on the Lost in Time. This is on the beginning box set with
The beginning box set,
that had the
sorry.
first 3 stories plus an edited compilation of Marco Polo. Yep. So
Yes, sorry, that one.
that's where it came from. So there you go. If you've got that, watch along with us. If not, it's on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you already know this because you're watching it right now. And if not, well, just listen along and celebrate 61 years of Doctor Who, everyone. As we watch An Unearthly Child, the pilot, raw recording in 3, 2, 1, play. Look at that.
Slate and
You got a
yelling
slate,
and clock.
baby. Yep. Listen, the fact that this even exists, I mean, it was found by it was saved by mistake. We're basically watching the copy that Sidney Newman watched and wrote many notes about, and then took Verity Lambert and Waris Hussein out to a succulent Chinese. But listen, I can't hear it, but there's a thunder crack right there that is unique to this initial version of the Doctor Who theme. It's never heard again. That's part of the thing about the pilot. So, what was your question, Warren? You're gonna ask about
This initial pilot, did they do the whole story or did they just do the first episode as a test run?
just the first episode.
Okay.
Just the first episode.
And that was enough to have Newman go, what the hell is this?
Well, I think some people said there was always the idea that they might have to record this again in the future. So it wasn't like this is such a disaster that we need to re-record. This is a different policeman in this than the original broadcast one. I know. I think Reg Cranley plays the first person ever seen in Doctor Who. But so I think this is basically was used as the viewing copy for Sidney Newman at the time. But even here, you can tell that Waris Hussein's some of his camera movements are more ambitious than what...
Like that one there's just there where they're showing us the floor for some reason.
Just kind of like, whoop, yeah, a little bit. Which is quite fascinating.
It looks like he's trying to simulate handheld.
I don't know. It almost looked like the big circular thing almost looked like the time-space visualizer from the Space Museum.
Yeah, this looks a little more archly put together than the dump that we get.
Than what you see in the final version. Mm-hmm. But hey, there it is.
Also, I love how this looks like proper videotape.
Yeah, good job.
Which of course it does because it was never filmized to begin with or put onto film.
Well, it was put on film.
16
Oh,
mil.
was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
That's how it was found. It was in a mislabeled film can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I take it back. That looks like a weeping angel.
right back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, are we allowed to say the writer? No, we're not going to say the name of the writer. The writer itself is probably fine. It's the son of the demented son of the Doctor Who writer that is preventing many people from watching this.
Like many instances of the history of royalty.
Yeah. You can tell how shake. I mean, the cameras here were literally the size of like London buses.
It's very cinema verite. That looks like it's about the same as the.
These are all the same people. Every single actor in here is the same. Toby Hadoke.
I meant that Dissolve. I seem to recall that Dissolve.
Toby Hadoke tracked down all the lives and careers of all 7 of the extras for the students in this. And
they were all in Grange Hill at one time.
R.I.P. William Russell. First Doctor Who anniversary ever that we will not have William Russell with us to celebrate with, but which is astounding when you think about it.
Yeah.
He's 39 right here. He's 39 years old. But I think he was about to turn 39. He was 38, I think, when they shot this, but because I think his birthday was in November-ish.
I mean, Hartnell was like about my age.
Well, it's funny. We're recording this today. Usually we record our commentaries like weeks or months in advance. Last night, as we record, this was the silly Netflix boxing match between Logan Paul and Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's 58.
Jake Paul,
Jake Paul, sorry.
Pedant you for that.
Mike Tyson's 58, which is as old as William Hartnell was when he left Doctor Who.
And he left it about as well.
Certainly. I
just want to see, I don't particularly have any love for Mike Tyson, but I really dislike Jake Paul because he's everything that's wrong with the media and the youth and politics and name it. And just seeing him win just reinforces how 2024 is a year of complete garbage.
Well, what stuck out to me, of course, was the fact that Netflix had massive streaming problems trying to do this live event. And it's amazing.
That was the one good part of it.
It's amazing to think that 60 years later, after this very thing that we're watching, and it's like they haven't figured out any better technology than big old analog, baby. Nothing beats analog. Damn it.
I mean, you're kind of holding on to something there, and
I'm
right there with you, bud.
I am a little bit. I also go ahead, Chris. I got it.
I was going to say, I think Netflix is trying to get like NFL or something like that.
Yeah,
and
this demo doesn't look like it helped.
Well done.
Exactly. Yeah, the catastrophe that was their streaming issues.
I haven't heard of Amazon because Amazon does do NFL, and I haven't heard of them. I mean, the fact that Amazon is half the internet in terms of networks, so that might have something to do with how they're much more stable.
I don't know. Amazon does hockey on Monday nights now as of this year, but I was watching just going back to analog and stuff as they play the scene out. Yeah, I know you desperately want to hear us talk about this, but
I'm just as far as the show itself is concerned, to actually go on topic.
Yeah,
just the camera panning and kind of bobbing
Yeah.
How long is it?
Because they're huge
as it
cameras.
went left or right.
Yeah, and they're basically like four people operating them essentially. One guy to to control it, and like one guy on either side of it basically to move it. Cameras are huge in these days at Lime Grove.
You know how much money Susan would make on TikTok if she did this?
I was going to say, this is more bobbing around than the actual episode, isn't it?
Yeah, because they make her a lot more, like, she's a lot more alien. And Barbara, Jacqueline Hill's shoe gets stuck in the door there. That's another blooper that happened. And then she screws that up. Yeah, like
when she's tapping on the transistor radio, like, I'm so used to seeing smartphones. I'm like, don't do that. You're going to launch some apps.
Right. But she's definitely more alien in the
You can tell this
version.
is old because the handwriting is good in the back.
I know.
Nobody has good handwriting anymore, especially not me.
Pre-decimalization as well.
That too. As
Well,
referenced in
16 farthings to a cow, as we know.
As referenced in this episode.
As referenced in the episode, yes.
To close the loop about my complaints about digital streaming,
It's never closed.
Downstream talked about this, but it's becoming a thing about how, like, the streaming delay, when you're watching a quote unquote live sporting event on streaming, it's actually because of the streaming delay, you're anywhere between 60 and 120 seconds behind what's actually happening. Mm-hmm. And the gambling world is upset about this because basically you could
bad direction.
Yeah.
Sorry. Ian and Barbara are talking.
Right.
Susan's in focus in the foreground. Ian and Barbara come out of focus.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's just bad directing.
Well, yeah. Oh, I know.
No, it's not. It's just an artistic choice. That's fine.
It is an artistic choice. Oddly enough, they managed to complete this scene because they're in the actual broadcasters and there's a hard cut. Be careful, Susan, when walking home, because they clearly had to retake it. This has changed because now they go, she's crazy and alien doing this little Rorschach test thing. I
kind of like her as a weirdo alien. To be honest.
Yeah, in the broadcast version, she's reading a book about the French Revolution. So Sidney Newman goes, kid, what is this? What does she draw? What is going on here?
I'm not stuck here with you. You're stuck in here with me. Sorry, just throw a Rorschach in there.
I don't know what that is. Is that a?
That's what she's doing as a Rorschach test, and it's Rorschach from the.
Is she drawing the TARDIS console? Look at that. It's a hexagon.
Someone might recognize this.
Yeah.
I can't let the fans see it.
I am Foreman, properly spelled.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see
saw that they for the 25th for Remembrance they went back and fixed the spelling.
Yeah, on the Blu-ray version that we will never see in North America.
That we have yet to have a pre-order or anything for.
Yeah,
because I'm so used to the steering being on the side that Barbara's on. At first, it seemed like she was the one running this whole show, and that she's like the detective on Stakeout.
Right. Here's the cool.
He's just kind of hanging around.
Yeah.
But he's actually the one behind the wheel. So
yeah. Here's the cool thing about this. I mean, as we'll discover, because we're watching the raw feed, we are watching an uninterrupted take. So when we cut to Susan, who's in on the other set, boom! Now we've resolved live in studio. Caroline Ford has made her way from the previous set to this set, and they basically go back and forth. There's pre-recorded dialogue for what Jacqueline Hill and William Russell are talking about here. This is all one uninterrupted take. The first 17 minutes of this episode, just cutting back and forth,
crossfades and all.
There is no editing whatsoever, because this is how TV was made back then. It was essentially shot as live, and when you watch the raw recording like this, you really get in there. Like now, Caroline Ford has literally run from one set.
Say they all had to run to this the other side of the set and go onto the same set essentially.
I've never really noticed it until recently. But when you watch like 60s Doctor Who, you'll notice that like a lot of times a scene will end, like if a scene is being cut with multiple cameras, that the scene eventually will end with just one camera pushing in on a subject or something like that, because the other 2 or 3 cameras are now moving over to the next set to cover the next scene, basically. And so that's something you have to work in when you're directing Doctor Who in these days, is that you have to make sure your cameras are there with as few recording breaks as possible to actually record this stuff.
You're in charge of multiple plays, basically.
Yeah, it's just fascinating. It is just fascinating to me how they made it in those days. And it'd be, Russell T Davies said once, like, I could if I had to direct an episode of Doctor Who today, I could probably do it. You know, just tell the camera I want this shot, maybe this shot, and that shot. But this, no, not a chance.
No, it's an entirely different skill set.
Yeah.
To go back to the direction, these bits I do really, really like the artistic choice, as Warren phrases it, with the camera on Susan and only Susan.
Yeah.
And a whole conversation is going on in multiple instances, and it's just on Susan.
Yeah.
And that looks interesting.
Yeah. It does, doesn't it? And you know, and now she has quickly, you saw that earlier shot of her like talking about that. She's now quickly thrown a coat and a hat on and is now on this set. Caroline Ford has had to run around a lot in the last 3 minutes.
It's a good thing
Which
she's the
helps
young
their
one
acting
of
flustered.
Yeah.
It's a good thing she's the young one of the bunch.
Mm-hmm.
How old was she actually? She must have been 18.
21 or 2.
20? Yeah, she was in her early 20s.
She was already
she was
already a mother.
Yeah, she had a kid already, yeah.
Yeah.
As was the style at the time. I mean,
As was style time. And Hartnell also used to give her flack for like not being around the kid enough or something.
No, for like, you know, she would spend it on clothes, her money on clothes.
Oh, right. How she
Which
spent
is
her
in
money.
Adventure,
Yeah.
Space, and Time, yeah.
Yeah, very
Not that
briefly.
that's an accurate representation of anything, but
Yeah.
it's an enjoyable one.
The young hair designer who gave Susan her haircut, Caroline Ford her haircut for this, was one Vidal Sassoon,
Oh, neat.
who went on to great fortune.
And Rosemary's Baby. So they make a big point of that.
Oh,
in
really?
Rosemary's Baby.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Because what's her name has, like, at the time, a trendy haircut, or I guess the movie made the trend.
With Mia Farrow. Yeah.
Yeah, and she makes a point of name calling Vidal Sassoon in the movie itself.
I didn't know that. Well, Vidal Sassoon 5 years before that made Susan Foreman's haircut. So, Doctor Who on the verge of trendsetting.
having gone through the season 2 box set not that long ago, and having both Maureen O'Brien and Caroline Ford on the behind the sofas, both of them talking about how anxious they were to just get the heck out of Dodge when it came to Doctor Who, and how both their characters were underutilized and never expanded in the way they thought was appropriate, and so on and so on. It's kind of. I mean, it's interesting, but it's in a way sad as well.
It is sad because, you know, Caroline Ford didn't really go on to much of a career after this. She was in a few things. Maureen O'Brien
Excuse
did.
me, she's in Big Finish.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
You know.
I mean, Maureen O'Brien took forever to get to Big Finish, but
Yeah, but she was in a lot.
She was an author, a novelist.
Well, she was in a lot. I mean, if you're like me and you're not, but if you go through YouTube and find a lot of classic 70s British TV, she's in a lot of stuff, and good stuff. Yeah, like
Okay.
Duchess on Duke Street. There was that weird I can't remember the name of the show. She's in a lot more stuff than I would expect, basically what I mean to say.
Good camera drop there.
Yeah. Clunky cameras.
So you said 17 minutes. So what? The cut into when they enter the console room?
That was the scheduled recording break. Yeah. So
That's okay.
So warts and all, we're watching it.
That weirdo head doll thing that they keep shooting, that's not in the... I don't recall it being in the proper episode.
No, I think they
they're really zhuzhing up the oddness of this junkyard.
They kind of are. I think, they might have.
There it is. Yeah, I think
they. And you know, because it's the pilot, like he's about to take out the locking mechanism. Because it's the pilot recording, by the time they came to actually record the whole story, they got a different designer in Barry Newbury. So this is why Peter Berhatsky this is his only episode, essentially. He designs for that first episode, including, of course, the TARDIS console room, but never works on the show again. The round things are because of him. He works on one episode. We're still talking about the round things. Yeah.
No idea.
And what Warris Hussein was a 24, 25, 26, I think, when you directed this. Verity Lambert's 27 when she's producer. I mean, God, it's just...
Even though I've met Warris Hussein, I cannot think of him as anything but Sacha Dhawan.
I know.
December 1938 was when he was born, so he would have been 24.
24.
Yep.
TV
Still
director.
kicking.
Yeah.
Still a handsome devil.
Chris Hayden, who we had on the podcast a few weeks ago, film editor, edited together Planet of the Giants. He was 20. Children made this show. Children.
Makes you look back on our own lives and say, what the hell have we done?
We wasted so much time. My God.
Watching this crappy show. Yeah.
Yeah. We watched what they were doing. Mind you, Hartnell here is 55? But he's also playing old. That's the thing,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a year and a bit older than me.
Yeah.
Here, that's terrifying.
But he's playing. I mean, when you see him off of, in other shows and around the same time, movies and stuff, basically, it's like he's playing old stuff. He's an actor, is what he's doing. He's a legitimate actor.
Yeah, I'm not playing old. I just am.
Mm-hmm. Old and cranky, just like this.
Yep. Yeah, not like Steven.
No.
Who loves everything to do with Disney.
And Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. And Star Wars. And the current state of the Marvel Universe, which you are fascinated by. That's a pretty good shot of him being a weirdo.
Not
which
bad.
I think is in the other one, yeah.
Very similar, yeah. But he's, another thing was like his character is a little too brusque with everyone. And that was another note that Sidney Newman wrote.
Right, yeah.
And another shot of stuff happening in the background out of focus.
Mm-hmm. I mean, intentional.
Also, how
very,
unusual would it be in 1963 to have a man with long hair? Like, that would be just a weird thing in 1963.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Clearly an eccentric, right? So,
And not even that long, to be fair.
but for the time, up until a year later when the Beatles had mop tops.
Yeah, his wig gets in Web Planet, his wig is really long hair at that point. And here we go. There is our scheduled recording break right there.
Which is why they're pausing.
So they're pausing because they know that's the end. There we go. And it dips to black as they cue it up again because they've stopped.
Too bad I can't hear it. I hope there's just a bunch of rattling happening.
Yeah.
Like, oh dear God.
Yeah. And then I think they have to do a second take of this. They cut to it wrong or something like that. Or no, maybe it's not. Maybe they do it. There we go. So here we go. Here's the first take at this wondrous scene. Goodness me. Susan's wearing a different outfit.
That never gets old.
Yeah. Oh, you can see well over the top of the set.
I was going to say,
there.
that's definitely,
Which wasn't, the Adventure in Space and Time does play up the nonsense. But look at the doors. Look at the doors.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Now, this was never intended for, like, air, like, no matter what, right? So they
shot
have
it.
the excuse
No. They shot it thinking that it would air. But if they needed to redo it, they could do it. They're still working on the doors. They're still trying to work the doors together. Watch the doors. It's the best. This is played up in Adventure in Space and Time where Sacha Dhawan is saying, "Will someone fix the doors?"
Yeah, I mean, you got to play that stuff up. That's what the essence of drama is. It's like take the best little nuggets and make them better.
But there it is. It's happening, man. It is happening. The first time
that's Sutek's hand actually moving up. Yeah. The hand of Sutek.
Yeah.
Which is actually Clara. Mm-hmm. Which is better Sutek lore than the actual new Sutek lore, frankly.
So, Warren, you had never seen this Rob recording?
No, I don't think I ever have.
Okay. Chris, you probably have at some point.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been many years.
Chris is a better person than I am, of course. Yes.
That's true, yeah.
It's definitely been lots of years.
Yeah, the edited version of it, because they will do another take of this whole scene. Isn't that great? This is another great thing about old TV, is that, there were about 8 errors. Like this move here is pretty ambitious.
That's a cool move.
It probably proved too ambitious, I think, with the size of the cameras. Basically, Waris Hussein had to sort of swallow his pride and dumb down his ambition a little bit, I think, to get some of the shots in for the finished version.
Richard Martin.
Like Richard Martin. You know what? Good on him. Good on Doctor Who and the BBC for getting young visionary directors who had ideas above what they could actually do,
Look what they took from us.
Yeah.
Aeons universes, which technically true. The canon holds up. And she's just standing there like Spock.
Yeah. in her shiny silver top because she's an alien.
Except the
It's
doctor
true.
says
Every word of it is true. She just ripped it. That's okay. So Force Awakens, making a conspiracy, ripped off Unearthly Child.
Except the doctor says space and time are collectively the fourth dimension, whereas Susan said they were separate.
That's true.
Well, this show's never contradicted itself.
No.
Thankfully, no. Piece of paper.
Other than the hat, he looks like just a regular dude with that suit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they even...
Good old paper wall over Hartnell's shoulder there.
I think they altered the costume a little bit too. I don't recall Hartnell wearing the tie there for some reason, but
Yeah, no, he looks like a business guy with a hat.
Yeah.
Basically.
That little turn of the camera just to change the perspective.
There's a big thing. I was born in the 49th century. That's a thing they changed for the...
Yeah.
I wonder if that's why RTD keeps putting stuff in the 50th century or whatever.
51st, that's
yeah,
Moffat.
51st.
Okay.
51st,
Right.
That's a throwback to Talons of Wing Chiang, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, he's just vicious. It's like Gary Oldman and Bram Stoker's Dracula there.
he needs a shadow moving of its own accord behind him,
Yeah.
which I'm pretty sure is above the ambitions of anybody here.
Oh, no, or just get a stagehand to accidentally walk over it.
I love that door that hints there's more in the back and it's one big roundel.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe I'm just misinterpreting it, but
Yeah.
behind these guys, you can't really see it from this angle.
Oh, the fourth dimension of space and time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's true.
Like this. See, this is like an argument, like in this version, where it's like they're gonna come to blows.
Well, how else would you spend a Tuesday night besides clocking an old man in impossible physics?
That's true.
There is a lot of cinema verite going on here with the camera.
I feel, Warren, that we are a proponent of multicam videotape because of our love of Doctor Who.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't think we were latched on to Doctor Who because it was shot that way. But I'm glad in retrospect that Doctor Who was made this way, just because when you see like film series from the day, it feels very...
Mm-hmm. And there's the big roundels behind them.
Very 1960s, Whereas this I don't know. There's sort of a timeless nature to this, apart from the picture quality.
Well, it's timeless to us because we grew up watching a pile of British stuff.
I suppose, but I think like the performances sell this more than like film editing and obvious overdubbing that happens, I think, a lot on film,
I Claudius is the best example.
Oh,
where
God.
I Claudius, you could completely forget you're watching something from 1976 or whenever it is because of all the amazing direction and great acting and amazing dialogue. That papers over any number of different things. I mean, in a way, it's kind of like I watched a giant blockbuster and I spent a pile of money, but it still wasn't any good. Mm-hmm. This is the antithesis of that, right?
It really is. Yeah. Like there's an artistic nature to it when you're having to sort of block everything to make sure everything is in shot.
Not having any money is great for creativity. We've said it before, and we're not the only ones who've said it. Mm-hmm. We didn't invent that phrase, but it's true. Like Star Wars is a perfect example. They had no money, and they just kind of winging a prayer at a bunch of stuff. Although I do find it funny that some guys wearing jeans because that's all they had, and somebody 40, 50 years later, that's canon that Blork wears jeans for whatever reason.
The sound effect here is slightly different now, too, with a little teet going on in the background.
I keep forgetting this is the time effect. I think if they've just going to roll credits.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Before there was a vortex.
Mm-hmm. That was
other shows have done this too, where they just read because that's the only stuff they got on hand. They just use their opening credits for whatever.
Well, it was part of the
in fact,
same.
Even
footage.
Tom Baker's done it, I think.
At some point. In Deadly Assassin. Obviously, the film footage was made first, and that is just played back as is in the finished recording. Just basically various different takes of visual feedback. This is another thing you cannot do in digital. This requires analog. I know because
I can hear the switcher screeching to protest.
In way back in the mid 90s, I rented a video cam and basically used it to turn on this my TV monitor, my old black and white TV monitor, and I made exactly what you're looking at. That's how you did it. You can't do it. It's impossible to do in digital.
You've got that on YouTube somewhere. I've seen the video. So
I do, yeah. Well, my old YouTube channel, it was taken down. I should put that up again. Right, I should put that up again, yeah. And this film with Leslie Dwyer, I believe, is the extra, who's the first ever. This is the first ever shot for Doctor Who. A couple weeks before they shot this pilot episode, was the film stuff for that one.
I'm in for a surprise because there's still time left on this thing.
We're going to see. We're basically going to watch that whole second scene again.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because they said, okay, there were about 8 screw-ups in that, but the fact that they played it out to the end is fascinating to me. You know, like they didn't, like when the doors were clearly messing up, they carried on. I would have thought they would have thought, yeah, this is probably enough to stop the tape.
This reminds me of a line from 1987's Wall Street, where people in control room are going, much like John C. McGinley, well, we sure went down the toilet in that ugly bee. a phrase I've used numerous times.
You know, even cameras were put into service for the credit sequence because they had to quickly whip over to get the 2 different stills of Verity Lambert and Waris Hussein too, and the roller caption. Took 3 cameras to record a title sequence in Doctor Who. Quiet, everyone. Who was that?
I assume that's the director.
That was the floor director. Yeah, I don't know who was floor director. Was that? I might have been Canfield actually. Because I know he directed.
Did they improve with this one since you guys have seen this?
They do. The doors don't bash about as much. There we go.
There we go.
That's a retake.
This is the gravy right here.
They had to do a retake. I think that's a bit of. Oh yeah, that's the sound effect. Of course, the sound effects are played to the studio live.
Yeah, and I saw the weird interference on the camera, which I love. Whenever a gun goes off, and the interference in the camera
telephony,
happens.
yeah.
Oh, so good.
It's so good. It's crazy to see how, like, you know, in Caves of Ranjazani, you see that when the machine guns go off near it. You think they would have fixed that, but they had not.
They're still a bit iffy on the top of the TARDIS there. Do the camera moves stay ambitious?
Well, I mean, they're still working to the same camera script.
Right?
So.
Yeah.
But the doors work.
Don't tell me how I live.
The doors work. They got the doors figured out, and that's the important thing there. Like we don't know how much time took place between, you know, the end of the first take and the beginning of this. I mean, do they spend 10 minutes yelling at each other how to operate doors? Or
did the restoration team clean this up? Because it does look pretty pristine.
Yeah, they did. It was also, it was in pretty good condition anyway. It wasn't like, you know, it wasn't found in a vault in Singapore or something like that. It was tucked into the studios probably. I don't know where it was in the BBC, but they found it.
Library somewhere, probably.
Yeah, they had it from fairly early on too. It wasn't like 78, I think, basically.
But they had to defilmize it, I'm assuming, because, like you said, it was put on film.
It was recorded straight to film. No, maybe not straight to film. Maybe they just made a copy of it. Obviously, it was on videotape. But I'm wondering if they made a 16 mil copy at the time. Because I think at the time they were doing that for the early days for like when they were making their film copies. I think they were trying to do it basically as it was going out, and they realized we are having troubles with it, like having to capture it live essentially. So
I don't know why I'm amazed by the fact that they can reverse filming when any piece of crap TV in a Best Buy has smooth motion to ruin the film, but it still amazes me for some reason.
Well, it's the chroma dots that is. You know, like I don't only just watch old British television, kids. Sometimes I fire up an old Hockey Night in Canada kinescope recording.
You're not helping your case here.
From like 71, like 1971. There's some games on, and they're in black and white on film. But because I have such experience watching Doctor Who film restorations, you can see where the chroma dots are on that black and white film recording of the color broadcast of Hockey Night in Canada. And I want to like say, I wonder if like the restoration team just has if they have a machine or like a plug-in for Adobe Premiere. Can you do you have a plug-in that I could just feed this in?
I'd be willing to bet it's not for Adobe Premiere. It's probably on the Avid if it's anything.
Yeah.
Or DaVinci, because DaVinci is a colorization.
Oh,
that's what it's known for.
Okay.
That's what it's best at. It's perfectly capable editor. I'm using it for something right now, but it's best known for being for years and years and years the gold standard for coloring. So I would bet that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I have no idea. I'm just talking on my butt here.
Right.
I like how sinister he is. I'm kind of digging Sinister Doctor here.
Oh God, that would never pass muster today.
No.
Yeah.
And they flipped.
Thanks to our woke ideologies.
They flipped out when Peter Capaldi was slightly church to people in his first scene. This isn't this Doctor Who.
Just for anybody listening for the first time, I do not believe any of that.
No. Yes. There's a whole speech about television that isn't in this. You have television. That's not in this version. They're all arguing more so. So it wasn't just directorial. It was also script, And I bet you... I don't know who did the rewrites. I don't know who inserted. It must have been David Whittaker.
That would make the most sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't think they would have got Anthony Coburn back to... So
that
really...
rapidly?
Yeah. The problem was this child wouldn't be running around the set being demented, and they didn't want that.
Was he even born then? I don't even know.
I have no idea.
I have no idea how old Steph Coburn
is. I don't particularly care.
No. But it's a shame. It really is a shame that, I own this. I've watched the broadcast version a billion times now. At least once on November 23rd since 1991, apart from 1 year in 2002, because I was playing a beer league hockey game that morning, November 23rd, 2002. It was the only year. Next week, kids, I'll be watching this episode as we record an episode of Radio Free Skaro, because that's just how it's going to go. That's how the timing's going to work. That's how dedicated I am to this. It will be
insane, I think is the word.
Yeah, very much so, yeah. It's a little more polished. This retake is a little more polished, but it's the script nature, I think, that Newman also had a problem with, which is...
Well, you can't fix that on set. At least you shouldn't.
No, can't. I get to see this again.
Yeah, there we go. Time Tunnel, starring... I don't remember.
Can you believe it? We had to do the whole sequence twice, whereas, Kubrick's telling Shelley Duvall to walk down the same corridor 128 different times.
And by telling, you mean berating.
Berating, yep. But, everyone has to be on their marks for this, so we cut back to Telecine, and then we fade in, camera 2 or something for William Hartnell looking this way.
Come on, man. I can only do so much.
Fade in there, and he's just sort of and the great thing is, too, is that... when you're starting a scene in this, very rare is it a whole scene starting. It usually starts on one object that a camera can zoom out on, so that they basically can tell the actor 2 or 3 seconds before they start that scene, listen to the radio, so we can just sort of cut to that as it's happening, so we don't have a hard start line. It's it's fascinating. I have become ever more fascinated, even more so, Warren, with the production of 1960s TV than
I'm shocked to hear it.
I ever was.
Seems out of character.
Yeah. It's just a different time of making TV. There's the same footage.
There you go.
There it is.
The Shadow.
This, yeah.
Your jackdaw meanderings.
And with the minuscule credit roll, I was watching something else from 1964 or something on there was just literally just actors. It's amazing that the title music got in there. No crew, no camera crew, no set designer gets in there, Perhatsky, but
I bet you the union had a thing or two to say about that.
I don't know. It's, reading the Doctor Who production diary and, say, should we get this, this film editor in there? He was, he only had 5 minutes worth over the course of the 4 episodes. That's not enough for a credit. That's just how it was back then. But, well, there we go. That is the pilot recording, raw recording of the very first thing shot for Doctor Who back in September 1963. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed celebrating the 61st anniversary of Doctor Who. We'll be back next week with the return of Trivia Mr. Fibuli. I don't even remember who won last time. Was it you, Chris? You always seem
Not
to
me.
lose things.
It was me.
I can assure you it wasn't me.
Yeah, well, it'll be a slightly revamped thing, but Erica and Kat should be along with us next week as well to play this thing. So we'll see. We'll see, Chris, if you can defend your title. Or
I bet you can.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay,
Probably not. We'll see.
No, we'll see.
I guarantee I'll lose.
Okay, Warren.
I can tell you that one.
Warren's throw that on the table. So that is next week on this here podcast, Radio Free Skaro. So until next time, I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
So long for now.